Hey guys, it's Dad with Dad's Guide to Adulting. I hope you're doing well and having a great day. Okay, in this video, we're going to continue to talk about buying your first car, and we're going to talk about how you determine a fair price for your car. How in the world do you know how much to pay? This is obviously a very important decision. It's probably one of your first big financial decisions, and you obviously don't want to make an expensive mistake. So how do you determine that information? Well, the good news is that has never been easier given all the information that's available on the internet. The key point here is you need to make sure that you're willing to do that homework before you go buy a car. Spending some time learning the price ranges for the cars you're looking at may end up saving you thousands of dollars later. This is one case where you definitely do want to do your homework. It's well worth it. So the first way you can determine the fair value for your car is by going to a couple of the websites. There's a number of good ones that are listed on our website. One of the ones that's more traditional and was even around, not an internet format, but it was around when I was younger and growing up, is Kelley Blue Book. And you can also use Consumer Reports or Auto Trader or a number of other websites. Basically, the way it works is that you enter information about the car that you have and different features that you want, and it will then show you a range of prices. These websites give you the option to build out the car. For example, if you want to have a four-wheel drive version of the car rather than two-wheel drive version, you can check that box. You can also then see what that does to the price. Run it both ways and figure out if that additional four-wheel drive is enough value to you to justify paying more for it. You can also get the information like that from the dealer, but being able to use these websites is a real advantage. Keep in mind that these websites only end up giving you ranges. For less expensive cars, the range may only be $1,000 or more. For more expensive vehicles, the range can be quite large. In either case, you will get a fair market range or a fair purchase price, which is typically in the middle of that range. You also may get the listing price, which is what dealers are asking for. Those are typically going to be at the higher end of the range, unsurprisingly. Obviously, when you buy a car, you want to try and be at the lower end of the range, so when you're doing research, try to look for cars that are not at the expensive end. The second thing you can do to determine fair market value is look for cars that are being sold in your area. One of the things that's important to know is that the location can affect the price. If you buy it in a city or if you buy it in a rural area, it may be two totally different prices. So it's important to check on that when you're doing your research. If you're willing to travel, you may be able to get a cheaper price. You may find that some of the cars, however, at the lower end of the range are at the lower end of the range because they have problems. It's always important not to just jump at the lowest price car, but to figure out why is it being priced that way. Is it because there are previous accidents or there's been damage to the car? Or is it simply because the seller is highly motivated to sell, which may be a very good reason for you? So how do you determine if a car has problems? Well, for one thing, you should make sure to ask the seller that question directly. If it's a dealer, they usually have a legal obligation to provide you with full information about the car history. If it's a private seller, they may have less of a legal obligation to provide you with that information. Keep that in mind, but it's still a good idea to ask the question. In addition to asking the seller about the car, you're going to want to do your own research. Luckily, there are a couple of websites out there that allow you to find out information about your particular car. They include Carfax and AutoCheck. So for example, Carfax, as I understand it, they pull information from insurance companies, from government records like the police, tickets, DMV records, etc. And then they can give you information and background, including the repair history, the number of past owners, any previous accidents, whether it was subject to a recall, etc. That Carfax report can be very valuable. Other websites do similar things, so be sure to check them out and run your car through a couple of them to see if they have different results. In order to use those sites properly, you're going to need your VIN number. Well, what's a VIN number? VIN. It's the Vehicle Identification Number. Every car has its own VIN number. 17 digits long, and it usually appears on the dashboard on the driver's side or on the driver's door. If you open the door to the driver's side of the vehicle, on the side of the door that would normally be covered by the other side of the car, there is information in there that will include your VIN. Keep in mind that if you're doing this with a dealership and you're trading in a car, you're going to want to run these same checks to determine the fair market price of a car that you're giving to the dealership or selling to the dealership, as well as the one that you're buying. One common thing that occurs in this circumstance is that dealers oftentimes offer a low price for your trade-in car. Part of the reason is that they know you are a motivated seller. You need to get rid of your old car in order to buy the new one. And you ideally want to avoid the hassle of holding onto your car and trying to sell it to a private seller. So don't jump at the price that the dealer offers you for your trade-in, as it may not be a particularly good value. If the dealership does offer you a price for your trade-in that's in the Blue Book value, then you may want to consider it. Okay, so now that we've talked about how to determine a fair price for your car, Let's talk about something that sometimes scares people but really shouldn't: negotiations. We'll see you next time. Until then, remember, you got this.